Hey guys, what is up? This is Matthew Davis, me once again. Welcome back to another movie review, aka After I Saw. This time it's going to be on Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I really want to hold my cat Lecter throughout this review, but I feel like he has other things to do right now. So it was nice of you being in another cameo. That never gets old. But anyways, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is the sequel to Puss in Boots, which came out all the way back in 2011. So now we're in 2022. And now we got a sequel. Kind of a long-awaited sequel, but I didn't really feel like a sequel was necessary. But whether or not if it was going to be good, I was going to see it anyway because I really enjoyed the first movie, even though I haven't seen that many DreamWorks films. Because most of them haven't really interested me that much, though I surprisingly really enjoyed the bad guys, so it really didn't matter. I was going to see it anyways because Puss in Boots is a cat, and I'm a big cat person, so. Anyways, in this film we follow Puss in Boots, who's living his life. Though he has wasted 8 of his 9 lives, and when he's down to his last life, he tends to retire from being Puss in Boots, because he's afraid now, because he doesn't want to lose his last life. From there, he then tends to be a house pet, but he finds out that this legend, known as the Last Wish, exists, so he tends to go out on an adventure with Kitty Softpaws, and this dog who he befriends that he calls Paretto or something. The dog really doesn't have a name. But from there, he's getting chased down by Goldilocks and the 3 bears, who also tend to get the last wish. Also, this guy, I forgot what his name is. His character is part of a nursery rhyme. I know the Pull Out a Plum, what a good boy, my thing. The only time I ever heard of that was from Adventure Time. So, anyways, Puss in Boots. I really enjoyed the first movie. How it's basically a spin-off to. I mean, it's the same world as the Shrek universe, pretty much, but I like it a lot more than the last 2 Shrek movies. And surprisingly, I like this a lot more than the first one, and I already really enjoyed the first one. In fact, this is probably one of my new favorite DreamWorks films in general. I had so much fun with this movie. I honestly haven't had this much fun with a DreamWorks film probably since the last How to Train Your Dragon. I mean, this movie it has a lot going for it. You know, I miss DreamWorks like this. I really miss how their movies appealed for a much more older audience. And I don't mean just with, like, cuss words and stuff, but how it manages to be an adventure that is worth taking with your eyes, not just in the minds of children, but adults alike. This is something that I feel like parents are going to enjoy just as much as kids are, because this movie manages to have a lot more than just being a sequel, as Puss in Boots is a lot more different this time around. How instead of being fearless, he then tends to get very afraid because the fact that he has just 1 life left, and he could possibly waste that life just not being very careful, because he wasted a lot of his lives not being very careful, as we saw in the trailer. But this movie shows that even though you have 1 life, that doesn't mean you should just, be careful. I mean, yes, you should be careful, but always manage to make your life be a fun time and not just be boring, because Puss tends to make his life very boring if he just doesn't be Puss in Boots. How, of course, if I go any further, like further detail, because there are also other different plot lines that I should explain about Puss in Boots' past with Kitty Softpaws, who is also in the movie, and I don't mean like what happened in the first film, because when we get introduced to Softpaws in this film, like, her relationship with Puss is a little bit complicated now, because if you haven't seen the first film, which I do recommend watching, the best way I can describe it is that, Puss and Kitty had kind of it's something you're just going to have to see for yourself. There's also this dog that is like a companion throughout their adventure as well. Though this dog isn't like a ruthless dog, it's actually a very lovable dog that is just, who doesn't have a name or anything like that. Puss just calls him Pareto. And he's definitely a bit of the sugar in this part, because he is a really nice dog whose emotion is pretty much happiness throughout, because the fact that he's made friends who are cats that are much bigger than him, he tends to really enjoy being there. And he's sort of a therapy dog, and of course there's the joke where, of course, Puss really needs therapy. He's definitely more on the comedic side, but I really liked him throughout the movie, so he definitely wasn't some annoying pest that just made you want to shake your head. No, he's actually a very lovable character. As well as other characters too, like Goldilocks and the 3 Bears, who started off seemingly as villains, though there's a lot more depth to Goldilocks in the movie, because if you know the whole fairy tale, you know when the three bears found Goldilocks in the bed, the bears were pissed off and then she ran away. That's a little bit different, which is something that I found to be very unique. If I explain what happened there with the bears and stuff, that will be into spoiler territory as well. What I also really love, just like with the bad guys, the animation style is far different than what we usually see in most DreamWorks films. The movie feels a lot like a painting if it came to life in a 3D perspective. And the way the characters move in certain parts kind of reminds me of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse a little bit. Which is a compliment too, because that made Into the Spider-Verse very unique as well. I mean, that movie was so good that we are getting a sequel next year, and another sequel afterwards, so I can't wait for that. But I feel like DreamWorks has really been going for more into the animation department with the style that they're using now. I feel like if they go in this direction, then they're going to do a lot more with their films, and they might just make them even better. Of course, they have to do some pretty good jobs with their stories as well, but I've really enjoyed the stories that they've been working on here. Like, it's not like just a recreation of the first movie. I mean, the journey is a little bit similar. How the first movie, they have to go, like, to Jack and the Beanstalk and stuff like that. It's a little bit like having to go find the golden goose in the first movie, but it's going for a wish. Honestly, it feels a lot more like if it were doing its own thing and not just a flat-out sequel, because there are times where it doesn't really feel like a sequel. And that's not a bad thing at all. One thing that I kind of wish the first movie had was a lot more throwbacks to Shrek, how it is in the same universe as Shrek, because Puss in Boots, it's the same Puss in Boots, but this time we actually do get some callbacks to the Shrek franchise. And we haven't heard from Shrek in 12 years, and there supposedly is going to be another movie. And the callbacks are pretty clever, and they don't just throw them all at you in random ways. And also, before the movie closes out, I was truly satisfied. Like, I think this has one of the best endings to a DreamWorks film. Like, it completely it just... I don't know how to describe it, but you're going to be very satisfied, I guarantee it. I guess in terms of problems, there really isn't that much. I guess when it comes to the jokes about Goldilocks and how too hot, too cold, just right, like, it kind of gets a little bit repetitive, but that's just a minor complaint. And honestly, I think that's pretty much it. Also, the other villain played by John Mulaney, I feel like the movie kind of has a little bit too many villains. I mean, Goldilocks at first seemed to be a villain, and then there's also this other, like, Death Lord hunting down Puss, who's like a wolf or something, and yeah. But the movie is very dark in some certain parts that I couldn't believe they actually got away with. So this definitely does feel like a PG-rated film. Like, not only does it get away with certain cuss words, I mean, there's even certain parts where they swear and they have to censor the words, kind of like in DC Super Pets. It was honestly a lot of fun. When it comes to the humor, it manages to work very well. And when it comes to the fairy tale stuff too, like the fairy tale jokes and stuff like that, they do stuff like hidden, like, items that were in certain fairy tales, like Alice in Wonderland, and even Wizard of Oz. It was honestly very clever and made the film's fairy tale parody stuff, just like in the Shrek films, just as unique. And yeah, in the end, guys, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, it's what I've been missing in DreamWorks recently. You see, when it comes to films like this and How to Train Your Dragon and Kung Fu Panda, there's something that adults can enjoy just as much as the children can. And I can say this is definitely the type of movie that I think parents and children of all ages will definitely enjoy going to see during the holiday season. It's something that I really wish Strange World and Lightyear could have done. It's amazing how DreamWorks has definitely been succeeding a lot more than Disney has. I mean, I still enjoyed Turning Red and Bob's Burgers movie, but DreamWorks is kind of pulling Disney out of the water this year. And that's kind of surprising. I mean, I liked Lightyear and Strange World, but they could have been so much better. This really should not have been as good as it had, because the fact that it's a sequel to an older film that came out over a decade ago, and it being an animated film, it exceeded my expectations in almost every single way. This is by far DreamWorks at its best in a really long time, and I really hope DreamWorks does a lot more like this in the future with its unique style, the adventure that they've had, the relationships Puss has, old and new ones, of course, with Kitty and the dog. It's honestly very strong here. Even when it goes from a rocky start, it manages to grow much later down the line. But yeah, it's never boring. It's a very well-paced film, and it's one that I think is perfect for the holiday season. For all ages, I really hope this movie does well. And it doesn't do anything to spawn a brand new franchise, so yeah. DreamWorks, I think you have won me over this year. If they keep going this forward, then I think you're going to see more reviews for DreamWorks films later down the line in the future. So, yeah. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I will be very busy this holiday season. Of course, family stuff, and I will be seeing Babylon. I'm looking forward to that. And, yeah. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Word out.